All right. Hello, good night, good evening, good Friday to you. Welcome, everybody. If you're watching, give me a thumbs up in the chat just so I know that you hear me. I just want to know that the audio sounds good. I'm going to be doing a recap of my recent pilgrimage to England, and I am opting today to show you guys this messy bachelor pad that I have in the background. No screen, no nothing. This place needs to get cleaned up a little bit, but I never have people over, so it does no video. Oh, people can see the video. The real Azar says there's no video, but somebody can see my house. Zenable says beautiful house. It's a nice house, but it's messy. I need to clean it up, and I need to comb my hair. I went to the sauna this afternoon. It's kind of like a nice. I go to the sauna sometimes on Friday afternoons after I get off of work, after the week of work. And I didn't have a comb with me, so this is just what my hair looks like when I don't comb my hair. A little wild. Kind of stands up. I almost have the Jew fro. Not quite. Not that quite curly, but so yeah, I got back Monday from my 12-day tour of England, which was a religious pilgrimage. And the idea of a religious pilgrimage these days is kind of foreign to people. When I was coming back into the United States, I had to pass through customs, and the customs officer asked me, "What are you doing? What were you doing in England?" And I said, "A religious pilgrimage." And he didn't know what that was. He didn't know what to think of it. And so he said, "What are you, Anglican or something?" And I said, no, I was visiting pre-schism sites in England, which he didn't know what that meant either. So religious pilgrimage is a task. It's a journey that one undertakes to deepen their faith. And it really was a great time. It was everything I could have hoped for, except for, maybe there's probably more places I could have visited. Would have been nice, but that means I'd have to go back. I don't know if I'm going to go back, but I'd be open to it. It was a good time, a good trip, and I'm going to talk about it today. So got back Monday, traveling 9.5. I got on a 9.5-hour flight from London, Heathrow, straight to Portland, and my good friend Johnny picked me up from the airport. He lives near Portland, and so I parked my car at his house, and so he picked me up, and fed me. And I gave him a bag of tea. I bought quite a lot of tea when I was over there in England. And I do have to say, I gave that as a gift to him to thank him, because he really did me a good one. You know, he let me stow my car there, save money on parking and feeding me and all that. But you know, he appreciated the tea. I think he's a Taiwanese fellow, so they like their tea too. But I gotta say, that tea, they really know how to do tea good in England. I bought like, I've been drinking this King Charles breakfast, whatever, English tea, and it is good. I might be switching from coffee to tea in the afternoon, at least for a while, because I just have a taste for it. It's really good. But let's see, where can I begin? People are stopping in and out. And that's just the way it goes on YouTube. People come in, decide if they want to watch or not. That's fine. It's nice that I have, you know, I went live here with no, I didn't, you know, you're supposed to go, they tell you, if you want, for all you wannabe YouTubers out there, they tell you, you should really let your audience know an hour ahead of time, or not at least an hour, or preferably 24 hours ahead of time, by scheduling your stream beforehand, so that people know, and then they can set aside time and make time to come and watch your stream. But, you know, I just have been lately just doing my live streams unscheduled, because it just takes too much effort. You know, I didn't even make a thumbnail for this. I would get more viewers. A few more viewers probably if I scheduled, and a few more if I did a thumbnail, but it's all just too much work. I'm going for the low effort here. The low effort, but nevertheless, we're bringing you high quality. This is bringing you the wisdom, the years of experience. So that's what I can bring to the table here for y'all. So let's see. So first thing I wanted to do is I want to share this video. I want to point out this video that I made. And the video is this one, the finding of an ancient reliquary. And I want everybody to make sure that they go and watch this. This is an important one. What is your name? So here's Richard. I'm going to tell the stream of how I met this guy. We met this guy in Lindisfarne. And I was checking into the hotel, and it was the ship inn on Lindisfarne, the Holy Island, which is a tidal island. The tide rises twice and lowers twice a day, making the causeway available to drive over, and then it goes underwater. So we drove over to the island, and we got there around noon or something. We were walking around for 3 hours, and then and there's people all over the place, cars, tourists. And then all of a sudden at 3 o'clock, everybody just got in their car and left, because if you didn't have a hotel room, you got to leave at 3 or you're stuck on the island all night. So it just got quiet. The whole town just like no cars, no people, all of a sudden, you know, quiet. And so we're going into the hotel, and this guy is a local guy you see here, Richard, and he was standing out in front of the cottage, what they call it, and he was smoking a Rizzler, which is a type of cigarette. I said, "What is that? I asked him. I said, "Is that a cigar? Is that a cigarette? What do you got there?" And he said, "It's a Rizzler." And so anyhow, that was just like the conversation starter. And he said, "Oh yeah, come on. I'll be here in the back. I'm on the back all the time." And he said, "I'll give you one." So I went up to my room. I came down again, and then I came down again to get the Wi-Fi password. And he was sitting there having a drink. I think he was having a rum and a Coke in 2 separate glasses. Not a rum and Coke, but a rum and a Coke and 2 glasses. And so I was asking for the Wi-Fi password. He helped me to find it. And then I started up a conversation with the guy, and he's a cool guy, you know, and he's a local. He's lives and works on the island. And then I noticed that he had this interesting cross that he was wearing in front of that it was visible. And so I started asking him about it, and he started telling me the story. It was an incredible story. And if you haven't watched, I want you to go watch it as soon as this stream is done. I mean, this is just a gem of a story. So Lindisfarne was, I'll tell a little bit of a history here. Lindisfarne was that's not what I wanted to do. Lindisfarne was, so there was a king named St. Oswald in Northumbria who converted to Christianity, and he wanted to convert his people to Christianity. So he sent to the north for a bishop, the north, which is Ireland, Scotland? Anyhow, I think it was Ireland. Anyhow, he sent to the north for a bishop, and they sent Saint Aidan, who came to Lindisfarne and established this monastery. And so following Saint Aidan, there was I should be showing like pictures to illustrate all this, but because Lindisfarne is just a beautiful island. I'll look up Lindisfarne. I mean, I'm not really a photographer, so I'm not like showing my own pictures because, I mean, you can look at pictures on the internet, right? You know, it's like, I'll just show some of these pictures. I mean, where are we? So Saint Aidan came, he establishes the monastery, and after Saint Aidan follows Saint Cuthbert. And anyhow, he was digging Saint Cuthbert beads on the shore, and he found this cross, which he says is a 7th century cross. Now, around that time, there were Viking raids. That was like people on Lindisfarne and in England, they were always afraid that the Vikings were going to come and, you know, raid and kill, pillage, steal, whatever. And that happened on Lindisfarne. So the monastery that St. Aidan established got raided by Vikings. They killed him and basically wiped out the monastery. It came back a little bit later, but these Vikings would take the monks to the shore and just drown them in the ocean. And so this guy found a cross on the beach that may have belonged to one of these monks who just got drowned in the ocean by a Viking. So it's basically a relic. So it's an incredible story. You got to just go watch the videos. That's just a little advertisement for that. But that was like a gem. That day. It was the Ascension when we found that. And let's see. We can do. Here's some pictures of Lindisfarne so you guys know what it's like. I mean, he's got this castle on this hill here. Kind of cool. Like they're not showing me the remains from the monastery. There are remains there. Here's the remains of the monastery. This is the cathedral on the right, and that was actually the remains that you see. These ruins were that's actually from later, from like the 12th to the 15th century. These buildings. So that was actually when England was Catholic, but it's still cool, you know. I mean, they basically built the monastery on top of where the original Orthodox monastery was. So it's still got this like kind of cool feeling to it, you know. But so let's see. Where was I going to go? All right. So this is kind of a meandering stream. Another cool thing that happened was we went to the Westminster Abbey in London. So I'm going to show that. This is like I guess this is kind of like a boring. Is this boring, you guys? Do you guys need some like explosions, gunfire? You know, you could just go watch an action movie if you really needed some like high, fast, you know, like some explosions and some sounds and stuff. But so let's see. Westminster Abbey. All right. So inside of Westminster Abbey, we can show the beginning, the front here. This is like where we went in. But so this was, just picture this, all crowded with people. This was like daytime tourist area, downtown London, right next to Big Ben. And there's all these people in line buying tickets, going in there to just walk around this beautiful building. You know, it's like just this gorgeous cathedral. And it was built to house the relics of St. Edward. So this is all full of people. It's all roped off. You know, you got to pay to get in. And we had been told by somebody, I can't remember who, that if you tell them you're there to pray, they'll let you in. So we're at the front and we said, yeah, we're here to pray. And we understand that we can be let in for free to go to see the chapel of St. Edward and his shrine. And the lady at the front, they had the people at the front, they had never really, they didn't really understand. They said, oh yeah, sometimes we do that, but it sounded like that never happens. Like they don't hear this often. People don't come to pray. Like who prays anymore anyways? You know, like people aren't really religious that much. But so they let us in. Some guy came, he met us, and he walks us through this whole area back into the chapel of St. Edward the Confessor, which is this. So I feel like it was a miracle that we were back here. The guy who let us in said he himself, who works there, never gets a chance to come into the chapel. So this is the shrine behind the high altar in Westminster Abbey that's built to house the relics of St. Edward the Confessor, who was a king in England, where this whole building was built for. And we stood here and we prayed. And we sung the Troparion and Kontakion to St. Edward, and we, you know, I kneeled down, I prayed, I remembered, you know, all my spiritual preceptors, my priest, my spiritual father, my godparent, my godchildren, people who are close to me. I remembered everybody here, and so that was cool. I think that they let us in. And so this is where like people would kneel down and pray, like pilgrims would come. So I think personally that was like a small miracle that they even let us in there. So that was in London. Also went to a pipe shop in London, got a pipe. That was kind of something cool guy. You know, there's more of a history of pipe smoking, I think, in England than anywhere else. That was fun too. So, okay, that was that. And what else do I want to tell? I went also to the monastery of St. John the Baptist in Essex, where St. Sophrony, who I want everybody to be familiar with, if you aren't, one of the greatest saints of the 20th century, where his relics are, and it is according to one person, it is one person said in an interview recently, that it is the best monastery in the world, apparently. So we had one night there, and I should be showing pictures. I'm not super prepared for this, but I didn't take too many pictures. I'm not a photographer, you know. I don't want this to be like a slideshow and, you know, hey, this arch in the middle of Paris was built to commemorate the victory over the in 1628. I think that's kind of boring, just like pictures and facts and history. You're not here for that. So you're here for rambling young P. Interesting comment here from Chat Noir. The Antiochians in Washington State are based. Good. Good. So, all right. So we get to the monastery. We go immediately. The first thing we do is we venerate the tomb of Saint Sophrony. We pray to him there. And we're only there for one night. There's an evening service at 5. And so we walk around, we go to the bookstore. They're really about their books there. They are always writing new books, and they've got tons of books to sell. So that's a big part of that monastery. Go to the bookstore, the gift shop, you know, pick up some things. And then they have this service at, I think, 5:30. And you go in, and basically they're just saying the Jesus prayer for 2 hours. And one of the monks will lead it. They'll kind of took turns, and you're just sitting there and you're just praying along with them. And it was an incredible experience for me, having all those, you know, holy monks around you, monks and nuns, standing around you, kind of like, it's like they say, like, if you're around healthy people, like in a spiritual environment, like the healthy people will make the sick people more healthy. So you want to go and be around these healthy people, right? So I'm around all these monks and they're praying, and it kind of helps the atmosphere. It helps you get into the prayer and you know, lift up your heart to God. And I kind of would say, if I was going to like draw a parallel, it's kind of like, you know, 2 hours of Jesus prayer. I never do that. I mean, I do like a prayer rope to Jesus, the Jesus prayer, like, you know, 1 or 2 or 3, maybe. And maybe, you know, rarely do I go further than that. But here we are for 2 hours saying the Jesus prayer. And it's like, imagine like going into a spin class, like you're completely out of shape, you know, and you go into a class and there's this girl with a mic and there's music blasting, and they're like, let's go. And they're running, you know, they're yelling at you, and they come on, push it, we're going up a hill, you know, or whatever like that. So it's like you go to a spin class for 2 hours and they just wipe you out. That's what I felt like it was. It was like just like going to this spiritual exercise class, doing Jesus prayer for 2 hours. And it was like therapeutic. It was like a therapeutic experience for me. And I wish I could do that. I wish I could go there every night. Like, I wish I lived there when I was there. I was like, man, I could like use this. This is good. This is what I need to like heal my soul. You know, I need to like, if I could, I would just like go there and get a job. They have, by the way, like England is just full of hedgerows. Like, they just love their hedgerows. Like, every house, every building, they got hedges, like a hedge in front of the building, along the drive, in front of your house, around the house. The monastery there, St. John's, they had hedges everywhere. I'm like, I'm a groundskeeper. I could come here and trim their hedges and do the Jesus prayer every night. Like, I would do that if I had that option. Does anybody know, by the way, like, do we have, what monasteries in America do that? I believe that the Ephraimite, I've never been to St. Anthony's. I've been to an Ephraimite monastery. What monasteries do we have in America where someone tell me in the chat who's been, where they do the Jesus prayer for like 1 or 2 hours? I think they do that at St. Anthony's, but it's like they get up at midnight and do the Jesus prayer. That wouldn't work for me, since I gotta like sleep through the night after taking my medicine. But somebody who watches this, leave a comment if you know what monastery in America where they do the Jesus prayer, because I don't know that I'm going to be it's probably not easy to get into like St. John the Baptist Monastery in Essex, especially since I've got like so many like peculiarities like my diet and stuff, which was a problem. Like I think I got like a gluten exposure on my trip, and my stomach was all messed up. But so that was the trip to the monastery. And then, we went to Durham Cathedral, St. Bede, St. Cuthbert, St. Aidan, all that, came back. And on Sunday, the last Sunday before I left on Monday, I went to liturgy at the cathedral, the ROCOR Cathedral. And the previous Sunday, I'd gone to the cathedral at the Moscow Patriarch Cathedral in London, which Saint Sophronia had helped to establish. And the last Sunday, I went to a liturgy at the ROCOR Cathedral in Chiswick, where Bishop Irenee is. And so that was a real treat. Bishop Irenee, like he was getting like, I don't know why people were like trashing this guy on Twitter because of his statements about masculinity. Like the week before I got there. But I went there and he serves so beautifully. By the way, like shout out to Augustine. Like apparently I have people following me on Facebook in England, quite a few. When I did my live from Dunhill, there was like all these people in the chat and they were like all from England. I was amazed. And having a YouTube channel has its benefits because people know you. And I was there, and this guy reached out to me on Facebook. He said, "Hey, if I said I'm coming to the cathedral." He said, "But that's my parish. I'll show you around." So he came and he met me after the service, and he showed me around what relics they have, what icons, and he brought us to the guest table at the trapeza afterwards, and so we got to meet all the people in the parish. So it opens doors. It's like having a YouTube channel, it's you open yourself. I mean, unfortunately, you get a lot of comments on the internet that are negative, and it's kind of hard to bear. But it has its benefits. Whereas like these wonderful people, like Augustine, he meets us there. He shows us around. I've got friends everywhere now, apparently. So I guess there's a good thing, there's something good to having a YouTube channel. But Bishop Irenee, like, I don't know why people are like trying to tear him down on X. This guy, like, he serves beautifully, and he made this wonderful sermon too. It was like uplifting, like most, sad to say, many priests, God bless them, but they say their sermons and you don't really necessarily feel touched and inspired and like excited to go live the spiritual life. But Bishop Irenee had this short, succinct, to the point sermon it was about how we find the truth in the church. That's where we find the truth. It's not out there. It's not in political ideologies. It's not in philosophies. It's in the church. And it was just like such a wonderful, like, it's very rare that you hear these sermons that just like touch you and make you feel like, inspired. It was an inspiring thing. So, so I felt very, very welcomed by that community. We can show a couple pictures too of that while we're at it. Here's the cathedral website, but this is the inside, all their servers, clergy, anyhow, so some of them. They made us a nice meal. They fed us, so we felt like honored guests there. So bless them for that. And that was my trip. And that's it. Any questions? I think I'm gonna keep it short and sweet tonight. We don't have to drag it on too long. Hopefully I haven't already bored you guys. But I felt I owed it to people to give a quick recap of my trip, and that's what it is. And so, all right, thank y'all for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Good night.